All right, welcome to a new series. We're playing a different game. We, after many, many attempts through the years, finally got Red Alert 2 to work.
That's right.
We have been playing Red Alert 2 since it came out in the late 90s, I think. It's an old game, but
Still one of the best balanced games in my opinion. Love this game, but getting it to work on modern computers is really hard. Even you can get the basic game working, but getting the networking going, that was really, we spent so much time, but finally we got it all working, and now we're going to make a whole series of these games. So, all the different upgrades for Red Alert, very exciting. So, we're off to the races here, and you can see we're working in team together.
Yeah, and we'll maybe down the road make a little video explaining how we got this all set up on 2 Macs in 2020. It's actually not as hard as it sounds. We actually were able to do it. I set it up on mine, and we got yours working in 10-15 minutes right after that. So we're really excited to have the game back. And we're both playing as Great Britain, I believe, because we like to get those snipers.
Yeah, we like those snipers.
You can see we're just getting out a couple of reinforcements by our base. We're playing 4 hards.
Yeah, so this is pretty aggressive, but in full disclosure, it actually took us several attempts to get this to a game that wins. So while we only publish the games we win, maybe one day we'll publish one where we just get decimated, which happens a lot more often than we care to admit. But
especially this one. For some reason, we had a lot of issues. You'll notice that he has an engineer by his base, a couple engineers now, because the games before, our base just was attacked right out the bat before we could even build a, what's it called, a depot thing, so that we could reconstruct our home base. And so we literally just had to restart like 5 minutes in. Yeah. But
one of his favorite techniques is to get some sort of people carrier, put about 5 or 6 engineers, just rush into your base past all your men because you're pretty weak, especially through one of the back doors or whatever. Because a lot of these maps have 3 sort of entries. This particular map has 3 entries each, 6 people on the map, and you can't defend everything perfectly. So he just rushes past all your defense, deploys all these engineers, and just shoves them into your main base, into your MCV, and next minute he owns them and he sells them. So before you can do anything. So it's very, very effective, a very effective way for him to function. So that's why we pack engineers in there close by, because you can't put dogs and all that sort of thing for spies and so forth. Dogs are useful up to a point, but his strategy is very, very effective.
So to kind of counteract some of that, one of our strategies is to put 2 snipers in an IFV, and then we just put another engineer in another, just so we can repair the trucks. And so we just kind of sent those snipers out as scouts, and we kind of take out those engineers or any of those spies. It's pretty useful, and they're so quick to get around, but it's also a great hack to upgrade your IFVs when you need them for air support or air defense later on.
Actually, that's one of the best techniques, is like you were saying, you make them a group, and then you just deploy that group and just make them a real annoyance. They just take out all the enemy's men. So what's happening is that we've got a situation where a bunch of he got one of those, we refer to them as crawlies under my tanks. They're just blasting
spiders,
those little spider things. So anyway, one of the ideas is, once you've got your snipers, they very, very quickly get to a 3 level, and then you take your sniper out, put them in another vehicle, and so you end up with, and you only need about 3 or 4 of those vehicles that are 3 level, and they'll take out 3 different Kirovs. So when those Kirovs come, which can be very, very destructive, so that's one of the things we do.
Yeah, we try and keep an eye out. Usually one of us will get a satellite earlier than the other one, so we kind of just keep an eye out for each other when, what we call them fishies. These are all our nicknames that we've developed for them. But yeah, the Kirovs, and usually it takes a while for one of them to have 3, but when you're playing with 4 other CPUs, that actually happens faster than you think.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in this game, I deployed a strategy I don't very often do, and that is, I think I built a whole lot of planes, and the idea of that was just to fly down and take out MCVs, and just because that really sets him back. Another good strategy here is like we're doing here. As you can see, we've just deployed a few of our I've forgotten what our flying soldiers are called, but just deploy
paratroopers.
Those flying ones. And what you do is you go to the mines, to the areas where he's mining, those mining fields, and you just keep taking out his. You just relentlessly go after all these miners, these ore miners, and that can become a real difficulty for him because he can never actually get any money because you're constantly wiping out his ore miners.
And you like to use paratroopers. I'm kind of doing the same thing, but I use those chrono guys.
They're very effective.
So I just get 4 or 5 of them. I send them over to his base. They take some time to recover, and then once they've all recovered, I send them all over to his ore miners, and that just takes them out. So a similar process. I feel like the paratroopers are a little more effective, but the only thing is they're kind of tough. If he's got good air defense, it can be difficult to get them out. But his ore miners are actually pretty resilient. It's kind of annoying how resilient they are. But I guess we also, as like the allies, we get the teleportation for those our ore miners. They can just immediately jump back to the base. So you'll see he's got some Kurovs coming over here. So I've just put some of those IFVs, and I've got some air defense.
Yeah, and there's another set of Kurovs. So purple sent Kurovs, green have sent Kurovs. You can see I'm taking care of green, you're taking care of purple. And you can see how effective this is against those Kurovs. They're not very strong, those Kurovs. But if a Kurov ranks up, they are deadly. If you get a 3-level Kurov, and that thing is hard to kill, and it just takes 1 or 2 bombs take out buildings so fast.
Entire building, yeah.
They'll wipe out a base in seconds.
But usually we don't let it get that far because one of us has at least a couple IFVs, and we kind of just send them over to support each other, which is kind of part of the reason we choose our locations to be next to each other, so we can just send resources and kind of share the defense that way. Yeah, we've got another batch coming into my base. But I think one thing that's different, coming from playing Battle for Middle-earth for so long, we have noticed that the balance is, like you said, a lot stronger in Red Alert, specifically with how they attack you and your allies. And so one thing we do to make it a little more of a challenge is we put all the CPUs on a team. So like we're team 1 and they're team 2. And we've noticed that they kind of attack us equally. I mean, one of us might get a little more damage or we'll lose a building a little faster. But for the most part, it's a pretty even playing field.
Whereas they're maybe a bit smarter in Battle for Middle-earth. Look here, I'm busy dealing with 6 Kurovs at the same time here. So you can see I've got the green ones on the one side and creeping just onto the screen in a few seconds. You'll see. So what he's trying to do is distract me. So, but the main thing is just keep focusing on those Kurovs. Don't get distracted by his other stuff. So you can see those Kurovs are. They're pretty effective. Of course, you don't want to be under a falling Kurov either. So anyway. So
well, you'll see I'm coming into his base. I've got a ton of prism tanks. That's kind of my weapon of choice when I'm building up a huge army. I've just found that getting a bunch of infantry isn't worth it because you're going to need some level of tanks to get enough firepower, and the men just kind of take too long to walk over there, and usually earlier on when you're attacking him, he's got enough defenses that they're just walking and getting mowed down. So it's not really worth it. I just kind of leave them back at the base as defenses, and I just really take them out with prism tanks. I've got a sniper in there just in case, and then I also call in some IFVs in the background. But you have to be careful when you're attacking with IFVs and prism tanks because the IFVs drive a lot faster than the prism tanks, and so they can go way ahead of them and then just get blown up.
And they're weaker. They have a weaker defense.
Right.
And so, of course, what you want to do is if you can keep the healing safe by putting an engineer in there and keep healing your prism tanks and so on. I also like the prism tanks. I think they're super effective. They're a bit of soft shell, and they can be fairly easily taken out. I see. So you've already taken out one.
There's purple. Yep.
Purple's gone.
What's nice is, for the most part, I think you can take out the majority of their base, and it just kills them. You don't have to go find every last farm or power supply in order to kill them. Sometimes you do, but I think it's like the necessities that, like, if that once they lose something that would allow them to, rebuild their base, then they're kind of out for the game.
Yeah. When they've got those crazy Ivans and you've got a sniper, it's really interesting because the sniper takes out the guy, he explodes, and he takes out half his own buildings.
Yeah.
So he can be his own worst enemy there very, very easily. So anyway, you can see I've got a sniper, 3-level sniper there. Of course, this can backfire if he's got a Yuri, and he mind controls one of your 3-level snipers, and suddenly he turns on you, and your own sniper starts to attack you. So you gotta be careful, especially if he does that right in your base. I've had that happen to me. So I see blue sending a bunch of Kirovs again.
Yeah, and I think just kind of speaking to that balance again, they keep it simple, and so with things like building units, you can't build 2 barracks or 2 tank factories or whatever they're called, and have them produce at the same time. You can build multiple ones, but then you always have to have one set as the primary, so it kind of adds to the balance of not being able to just build a massive army super fast.
Yeah. So just did you see how quickly those Kirovs die?
Yeah.
And that's because there's one 3-level in that group taking them out. So, yeah. So that's really very effective. So, okay, we'll take out this blue group soon. I see you're busy dealing with that. Well, I'm dealing with that, sorry. You're attacking another group. I like getting in the back door. Don't you like coming out the back? And because he tends to not defend he defends the front.
Well, it's also a great way to, in case he has a bunch of defenses on the other side, it's a great way to take out all of his ore miners, so that even if you lose all your units, at least you've set him back a few minutes in the game. But even earlier, you'll notice that I had 10 or 15 prism tanks, and
so by the way, this is a very unique situation, where I got attacked and I wasn't watching, and Kirovs got right into my base. And so
but you were able to get
I was able to grab my MCV, pack it up, and run away. And there you go. See how much damage that did, even though because I was so busy and distracted somewhere else. So I have to basically rebuild now, because I have to redeploy, basically start my base all over again. So this is
again
painful.
Going back to that balance, like that game hasn't tipped until the very end, really. I mean, you don't just get a bunch of momentum to win. Even as much of an army that we both have, you can still lose your whole base if you're not watching, just
as
like
I
that.
just demonstrated.
Right. Perfect example. But yeah, I was just saying, like, when I had even 10 or 15 prism tanks and I was going to attack his ore miners, it took 2 or 3 hits just to take him out. Whereas I can basically, it's a one-click kill for any of his buildings, and it just blows him up without much time.
Yeah, those ore miners are tough.
They
really are tough.
Resilient.
So I see you busy clearing out that last of those
Yep, that's
guys.
Green gone.
So you've taken green out.
I'm just kind of getting some reinforcements
on this. I was still busy struggling trying to take blue out, because I was trying to rebuild myself and take. I've got nothing. I got no war factory, no barracks, nothing. So I'm busy rebuilding everything again.
Well, one thing to note as well is we also picked this map and started with 100,000 in resources.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference, because when you're playing with 6 people, the resources are pretty scarce and you run out really quickly. Even with as much as we started with, we were still starting to run out toward the end, just because there's so many people trying to get resources. And even if you go to the middle, it goes out pretty quick. You can see most of these bases have no resources in any of their default positions.
Yeah. All those mines, all those fields that have been severely damaged. So, yeah, I can see that. I'm still struggling to. Yeah, finally got his main base taken care of. That took a while, and so.
So one thing I do, just going back to that prism tank and IFV strategy, is I'll group all the prism tanks as 1, and I'll put the IFVs as 2. And so I send in the prism tanks and take out all of the artillery or defensive buildings, so then I can come in behind the prism tanks and kind of clear a field with the IFVs and just take out some of the extra buildings that aren't going to fire back.
Exactly.
But we're almost done here with orange or yellow, whatever this is.
Yeah, and I don't think we have very much more to go. I think it's just yellow left. I think I'm still trying to build. My air defense, and trying to get battle labs up, and basically rebuilding from the ground up. So I've actually built just because of one moment of over focusing on the enemy and not kept paying close attention. Fortunately, you built up such a great momentum. You were able to wipe him out while I rebuilt. So
yeah, well, orange has just been defeated, and I've got some reinforcements. I'm kind of just gathering at the top. I know you've got an army coming together, so I was gonna let you come in at the bottom there, so we kind of hit him at both angles. But this is our last hard left. I'm just kind of edging my way into the back of his base. Still trying to peck away at his ore miners there.
Yeah, they're very, very hardy.
And I think I'm just going to go ahead and go in here, just kind of pick away at some of those buildings. I think we've already taken out, you already took out his home, his MCV.
I have, yeah.
So
you can actually see from both screens, you're watching both armies
right.
on the same. So now you're seeing it from two sides. So there you go. I think you took him out. I think he's basically done. We should be seeing victory shortly. I think that's the last one.
Yep, that's the last one.
All right. Well, very nice. Well, you did all the work.
Well, it's usually a balance. One of us does, all of the building, and then the other one kind of does defense, and it kind of, balances out. But there we go.
Victorious.
So we're taking a look at some of the resources again. You can kind of see that we were pretty matched in losses and the buildings that we built, but in terms of kills, I think. But what's funny is I do think part of that was the snipers just going around the beginning of the game and just pecking away at any of that infantry.
Yeah. There's some maps that if you can get those snipers perched up on a ledge somewhere, he can never build anything.
Right.
He can't build any men because you just park it so that he can reach the barracks. And so that was very good.
That's the end of episode 1 of hopefully many of Red Alert 2.
Yeah, we're excited.